Hello. I am going to do a mini study of the second presidential debate. And I am going to start by saying that if I play clips, I'm afraid I'll get a copyright strike. So, what I'm going to do is I'll show you some screenshots and you'll see the timestamp on them and you can find the relevant bits for yourself. I'm also including in the description the URL of the particular site I was using, so the timestamps match up. And then you can check whether my interpretation or reportage is in any way accurate. I'm going to say what they said, and sometimes I might miss out something in order to keep things short, but I won't miss out anything that adds to the discussion. Then I'll tell you what I think about it. The first question you might ask is, why should you be interested in what I think? And my answer is, well, I'm at a distance. And if you're in America, that perspective might be of interest to you. And then again, not. Also, I'm going to go through only the first section because, well, you can get minute analyses from people like Dave Rubin or Styx. What I want to do is give you an idea of the impression I got. So let's start off with the moderator, Kristen Welker. This is Kristen Welker at 2528. Will someone please tell me why American newscasters, and especially the women, always look like they're made out of plastic? Anyway, Miss Welker asked the two contestants, the two candidates, this is what she asked. The country is heading into a dangerous new phase. More than 40,000 Americans are in hospital tonight with COVID. And since the two of you last shared a stage, 16,000 Americans have died from COVID. Now, let's see which one of you sounds the most heartless when talking about it. Well, actually, she didn't say that. What she said was, how would you lead the country during this next stage of the coronavirus crisis? And then she pitched the ball to Trump. You might say that seeing as Trump was president, it was a courtesy to ask him first. And then again, you might say that this was a hardball question and giving it to Trump would have given Biden some badly needed think time. But what you could also say was, what sort of a question is that? Trump is already conducting himself in a certain way, so they already know how he's approaching the problem. Anyway, Trump's response was as follows, and this is Trump at 2634. The model predicted 2.2 million people would die. And what he's saying there is that the model was overly pessimistic. And I don't think it was, but it's not would die, it's could die, isn't it? And then he said, we closed up the greatest economy in the world in order to fight this horrible disease that came from China. Trump never loses an opportunity to remind us of that, does he? It's all over the world. If you notice, the mortality rate is down 85%. The excess mortality rate is way down, much lower than any other country, and we're fighting it hard. Well, he hasn't actually answered her question. What he's done is he said that the bug came from China and the excess mortality rate is down. But if Americans had a very high mortality rate, then it is down now. That's the nature of such infections. Then he talks about the various spikes in different parts of the United States. I'm not going to go through that, before saying that there is now a vaccine ready, which will be distributed within weeks, he says. He called it Operation Warp Speed. And my first question was, where did they find the dilithium crystals at such short notice. I have to say, I find that fascinating. Okay, back to Captain Trump, who tells us that the vaccine will be distributed by the military, which is, of course, a good idea. Then, a little strangely, at 26:49, he starts talking about the treatment he got for his attack of COVID, which was not a vaccine, but a medicine called remdesivir. Interestingly enough, the WHO, the World Health Organization, says that particular drug has no effect at all. So then we have to ask, well, what got Trump better? In the United States, tests came up with another result for remdesivir, saying that it shortens recovery time by about 5 days. So you pays your money and you takes your choice. Now, back to the captain, who stated that he was now immune and that more people are getting better. Well, you see, that's nothing to do with any future policy, and it's nothing to do with a vaccine. But it is to do with a sort of general message of hope. You know, I licked this, so can you, that sort of thing. Welker then asked him about his strategy, and he talked about the vaccine. Well, yeah, that's a strategy. But after that, he just started, well, as I say, narrating this message of hope. Heads of state congratulated me on my recovery. So that makes me a pretty neat guy. I'm not against Trump, by the way. I think that a little cheerleading is good in a situation like this. You might think things are bleak, but they're going to get better. Churchill did the same thing. He talked about he played on the British people's idea of the greatness of their destiny, but he did that. It was a very deliberate selling point. And then Trump went on to say, also, we've got goggles and masks and gowns. Oh my. Which we're churning out by the barrel full. He didn't use the word barrel full, by the way, and distributing ventilators all over the world. That's nice to hear, but I've also heard that ventilators are now not considered to be good therapy. Well, anyway, at 28:29, he finishes off by saying, it's going away. And that's his general attack for this particular question. He's not talking about strategy. He's not talking about death statistics. He's talking about the fact that it's a virus and it will go away. And this Operation Warp Speed name, it's a good name. It brings up a whole lot of associations with the Star Trek idea that the world, and indeed the galaxy, will go forward into a better, more advanced place. That's good. I'm not knocking it. He's giving hope and positivity, like any good captain should. And now, over to former Vice President Biden, whose opening statement is 220,000 Americans dead. Well, that's a fun start, isn't it? And that was his prepared statistic. You can see that was what had flagged up in his mind as soon as the question was asked. However, after that, he's not so sure about the next bit, because what we're going to get now is a lot of repetitions. I want to say also that, I wrote down what he said, and once or twice I had to rerun the video because he was slurring his words, and occasionally I wasn't sure quite what the word was. So this is how ex-Veep Biden continued. If you hear nothing else I say tonight to this, or maybe do this, I don't know which one it was. And then he goes on, anyone who's responsible for not taking control, in fact, not saying I take no responsibility initially. Anyone who's responsible for that many deaths should not remain president of the United States of America. I wrote that down. I had to play that bit of the video several times. Okay, well, that speaks for itself, doesn't it? Or rather, it doesn't speak. Just for that sentence alone, or whatever it was, Biden is unfit to be president. It's not that he's got bad ideas, but he can't collect his thoughts. Anyway, he goes on. We're in a situation where there are 1,000 deaths a day. Now, 1,000 deaths a day. See that repetition there? And there are over 70,000 new cases per day. Compared to what's going on in Europe, as the New England Medical Journal said, they're starting from a very low rate. We're starting from a very high rate. I don't really understand that. It looks like he took a bit out of there, but the explanatory bits on either side are missing. The expectation is we'll have another 200,000 Americans dead. Be fine between now and the end of the year. Yeah, I mean, that's the only, I got be fine there. I'm not sure if anyone heard anything else. Maybe you could let me know. We'll have another 200,000 Americans dead, be fine between now and the end of the year. If we just wore these masks, brandishing a mask, the president's own advisors have told them, or maybe he said him, I'm not sure about that, we could save 100,000 lives. Well, actually, that's a completely unsupported assertion. It may be true, but then again, it's an unsupported assertion. And we're in a circumstance where the president thus far still has no plan, no comprehensive plan. Again, that repetition. While he collects for the next part of an obviously very well rehearsed speech. What I would do is make sure we have everyone encouraged to wear a mask all the time. I would make sure we move in the direction of rapid testing, investing in rapid testing. Now look, what I would do is make sure we have everyone encouraged to wear a mask. No, that's not how you put it. What I would do is encourage everyone to wear a mask, or make sure everyone is encouraged to wear a mask, but not we have everyone encouraged to wear a mask. The sentence structure is breaking down here all the time. Yeah, okay. I would make sure we move in the direction of rapid testing. No, I would make sure we start rapid testing. This move in the direction. All of these little bits, like make sure we have and make sure we move, or make sure we move in the direction, they are fillers, which give him time to think of the next bit of the message. They don't go straight in there. Anyway, I would make sure, again, and I'm quite sure that he has been rehearsed on this, and he's been given, do 3 make sures in this list, and that triggers the next bit. I did it when I was memorizing lines at school plays, so I'm sure everyone knows that trick. I would make sure we set up national standards as to how to open up schools and open up businesses so they can be safe, and give them the wherewithal, the financial resources to be able to do that. Again, the wherewithal is not necessary, but it sort of gives him a bit of time. We're in a situation now where the New England Medical Journal, one of the most serious journals in the whole world, this is verbatim, by the way, said for the first time ever that the way this president has responded to this crisis has been absolutely tragic. Actually, the New England Journal, I checked it out, they're talking about America generally, and they say it's a tragedy. And it may well be. But what happened is to do with the American federal system as much as the American president himself. Well, at least I think that's how it worked out. Not that the New England Medical Journal said that, it's just my assessment of the way things are run in America. And so, okay, responded to this crisis has been absolutely tragic. And so, folks, I will take care of this. I will end this. I will make sure we have a plan. That was his final words on that subject. I hope Mr. Biden's supporters don't think too badly of me when I say that when someone says, I have a plan, I keep thinking of Richard Nixon. He didn't have a plan either, but then the American people voted him in anyway. Look, just for that, it's obvious that Biden has some inability to follow a direct line of thought. And he shouldn't be president. Yeah, you know, if you're a Democrat and you're watching this, there are a lot of Democrats who are not the nutcases going round rioting in Portland and places like that. I know that. I have friends who are Democrats. They will support Biden, I'm sure. And they're good people. And they're responsible people. And one of them is a lawyer who deals with defending people who have been mashed by the system one way or the other. And she sees a lot of really difficult cases, really sad life situations. I know why she's thinking the Democrats are the only people who could do this and the Republicans are heartless and all the rest of it. But the fact is, even if you think that, Biden is not capable of being a president, and that's the problem. And the Democratic Party has just thrown an insult in your face by pitching this man as your leader. The party has told you it thinks little of you, that you're willing to follow a man who is mentally incapable. Well, yeah, that's my perspective on that presidential debate. The rest, it just follows. You could go through Biden's talk. I saw quite a bit more of it. I didn't get quite to the end, but he was doing those tricks, those repetitions, those little wanderings, those mispronunciations again and again and again. It was very obvious. Now, they were both acting very well in that debate. And the one thing I did notice was that in the previous debate, when they were rowing, Biden came off quite well. And that's probably because of the adrenaline of conflict. But in this debate, he wasn't coming off even as well as that, because there was no adrenaline. It was all pretty gentlemanly, and he was forced to speak rationally and cogently, and I'm afraid he didn't manage it. Why not treat yourself or a favoured relative or friend to these magnificent examples of merch? The mugs and t-shirts come in the Graniopteryx design or Granbow with a firearm or the more deadly knitting needles. Go to www.graniopteryx.com and whatever platform you're watching this on, please click like, subscribe and share.